education, and real-world knowledge about the voiceover industry. It's the Voiceover Gurus Podcast.
And we will begin. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Voiceover Gurus Podcast. I'm Linda Bruno. You know me, I like to just fly by the seat of my pants. And unfortunately, I had to reschedule with this next guest at one point because I was a little nutso after my Cinco de Mayo party. But please, I would love to welcome to the show Nadia Marshall. How are you?
I'm doing well, Linda. How are you?
Doing well. Wow. So you're a fellow voice actor. I see you've won some awards as well on your website. It showcases that.
Thank you.
It seems like you have similar vocal qualities to me, that nice, warm thing that is always good for booking jobs. Yay.
Absolutely. And all the specs, on all the specs.
Right? Yeah, that's what it is. So tell me how you get started in that, and then we'll switch over to why you're here.
Sure. So what guided me into the voiceover industry was actually due to a friend. And so I met this woman in an opera chorus for Carmen when I was back in high school. I met this woman, very vivacious Brazilian voiceover talent. And so she had told me, oh, this is what I do. She was pursuing it at the time more as a way to make extra money and a side hustle. But anyway, we kept in touch. I went to Florida State for my bachelor's degree. After I graduated, she and I reconnected, and she's like, I think you really need to consider voiceover as a potential career for you. I'm like, really? I'm not sure. And really to exemplify the kindness and the compassion of this community, she invited me over to her house. She showed me her studio. She gave me some of her old equipment. She showed me how she did certain things. She was so kind and generous with her time.
Yeah.
And a few months later, I booked my first job. So it really comes down to Sumaira and her kindness for getting me started.
Wow, how generous as well.
Absolutely.
And we all need that first inspiration. I love to hear that too, of who gets you, lights the fire to business.
Yeah. And I mean, it helps when you have someone to show you the ropes. I know some people don't necessarily have that and they have to do it all on their own. But again, this community is so welcoming and compassionate. And if anyone has questions, most people are willing to give any sort of answer or point you in the right direction or send you a resource. So yeah, her kindness really, really showed the way.
That's great. So when did you give me the year before? Because I think you met her. When were you doing the opera?
Well, that was when I was in high school. So
okay,
we
yeah, I
did
remember.
the opera. Yeah. So we met in 2010, but the time I booked my first job, 2016. But I really didn't know what I was doing, Linda. I was just trying to figure things out on pay to plays, and I was like, well, let's just throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks. And finally in like 2019, I started to see, okay, I keep sort of plateauing. I want to see if I can make this a career instead of just a little hobby or a side hustle. And so found Jamie Muffet, and he pointed me in the right direction to a lot of people. And so again, like kindness of somebody else. Yeah, so 2016, I guess you could say is the start, but not really. That was the fumbling years.
Yeah, that we've all gone through. That's great. Absolutely. So now you say, are you full-time voice actor?
Yes, full-time.
Oh, wonderful. How many years do you think when you started in the fumble period of 2016 to when you became full-time? How long did that take?
Well, I became full-time in 2022. So, career kind of started in 2020, but 2022 is when I became full-time.
That's great. Now, were you working a regular job too?
I was working a part-time job as a marketing assistant for a nonprofit opera company at the time. So it was sort of juggling doing that work and then trying to do voiceover and then trying to also sing as an opera singer. And it was like something was always on the back burner and I didn't want it to be voiceover all the time. So I was like, all right, time to take the leap and, shift over to make this full time.
Let me tell you, I have such respect for opera singers. I'm a singer, was a singer. We'll put it that way because I haven't sung in a very long time. But the first time I got any type of instruction was with an opera coach. And wow. Respect for that, because singing arias and the perfection and the stamina that goes into stuff like that, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's a
last very
crazy
long.
career.
It was
No.
it was a good foundation.
Oh,
It's okay. I switched to like rock, and then I did jazz,
oh,
and
nice.
opera was really like very nice. So
Yeah,
you said you went to Florida State?
I did for my bachelor's degree in vocal performance.
Oh, very cool. I went to UF. I
Oh
went
no!
to,
Uh-oh.
I know, right?
Uh-oh.
I know.
Watch
But
out.
I was just there for 2 years, and then I went to FAU in Boca. I finished out my degree.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
there we
yeah.
go. We can stand
We
down,
can, we can.
Nadia.
All right, breathe, people, breathe.
So then with the part-time job working, doing marketing, has that led you to the interest of lead generation?
Yes. So with being someone who was helping the opera company and then just as a freelance, well, at the time, more of a freelance singer myself, just knowing how to research potential clients, potential patrons, for myself, but then also for the
Mhm.
opera company, knowing how to utilize all parts of social media, knowing how to really maximize the search times with the amount of, hours that they would give me because I was part time. Like it really helped me to get familiar with how to search for that kind of information and how to data mine essentially, and put it into whether it was a spreadsheet or just some sort of database and have that ready to go. So that, yeah, that kind of eventually along the way stoked the fire
Mhm.
for lead generation now.
So explain exactly what lead generation is for those of us just starting out, no, have no idea.
Sure. So lead generation is the act essentially of finding information of a potential client, of a prospective client, or a lead, right? There's kind of these three tiers. There's the lead, which is completely cold. You don't know them at all. You've never worked with them. You haven't really had a conversation. And then a prospect, which would be someone that maybe you've had one or two interactions with, and you could think that, okay, they'll eventually warm up to we could potentially work together, or the interest has been sparked that you would eventually like to collaborate. And a client, which is someone you have worked with or continue to work with.
Oh.
So the art of finding the information of that lead, of generating that sort of like contact information or information as to, what their job title is. So that way you can be able to reach out to them, whether it is through email or cold calling, whichever method you prefer, to then establish a relationship to then, foster that relationship and become client and service provider.
It is difficult to find the leads. I mean, that is so I would say that's one of the toughest things to do in voiceover. After you've gotten your talent, like, you know where your gifts lie
Right.
and you've had training, but then there comes the really hard work of trying to
Hmm.
find those clients. And that's always like one of the biggest questions I get from students are like, now how do I find a client?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
I'm old school with I have a CRM, so I
Nice.
use that. Do you advise that folks get
Oh,
one? Right,
absolutely.
really?
I think when you're first starting out, maybe you can handle a spreadsheet, but we're only human and we can only handle so much in our brains at once that having a system that can kind of streamline that for you takes off even more of that stress off your brain, and so you can be in the booth and do what you do best.
Do you recommend a particular CRM?
I know that a lot of people have different choices. I personally use Nimble, but that's only because I knew quite a few people that had sort of help as to Nimble. I could see lots of YouTube videos on it. Mark Scott has his Nimble course. So there are quite a few resources available. But I know
Mhm.
some people like HubSpot. Some people may like even Wix's built in CRM, VoiceOver View. You can think of it kind of like a CRM. So there are quite a
Right.
few options. Just, I mean, a lot of them offer free trial periods. So if you're willing to, I mean, know it's not the sexiest thing to do, but if you're willing to give it a try and see which one kind of fits your brain and makes sense for you, yeah, I think a CRM is always a great tool. But I would say everyone's built differently. Everyone's mind works in different ways, that what may work for me and what may work for you may not work for Jane Doe. So it
Right.
depends on who it is. Hmm.
I advise my students initially, especially when budgets are of concern, I say, if you're good with an Excel spreadsheet, at least start to get yourself organized. But I
Yes.
also use Nimble. I find Nimble to be very effective.
Hmm.
But I'm a big fan of those trial periods of some of these.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
I'm
Ooh.
always signing up for stuff because
You're
I
like,
want
oh,
to check
right.
it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
there's always something new coming out, and a new app or this and that, and it's fun. So, okay, I agree with you with the nimble thing. Because it is important also to stay up to date with what prospective clients are doing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's kind of where social media can come into play. I understand that not every single person may be social media inclined, and that's fine. But even if you are sticking to one platform in particular, whether that be LinkedIn, whether that be Instagram, whatever, again, works for your brain and what makes you more excited to put in that work every day or every other day, whichever, time you have allotted to that. But social media can give you that extra little bit of, oh, well, they were just on a shoot. Okay, well, let me see. Oh, they just posted about some behind the stage or behind the scenes kind of pictures of their recent shoot, and that's the creative director. Let me comment on it, and then you can sort
Mhm.
of have that relationship rather than feeling like, okay, well, I just emailed them last month and I don't want to be annoying and I don't know what
Right.
to say right now. So it kind of fills in the gaps in between those out of the office notices, new demo notices, or holiday hour notices.
That is a stressful part of it because you don't want to be annoying. And then there's some people that have so much courage that they don't care. And they
I
go for
mean,
it.
more power to them. I
Mhm.
mean, that's a special kind of just I don't care anymore, that I'm just gonna do it. I kind of admire that. It
I
scares
know.
me.
Me too. Me too.
But I'm like, okay,
Like
someone has to do it.
I'm not a cold caller. I hate cold calling.
Mhm.
So my method of choice is usually email.
Same.
Um, but some people are like masters at cold calling and they know. But the other difficult part too is how do you get a hold of anybody these days? Like via
I
phone.
know.
There's
Mhm.
always gatekeepers and the screeners and that in itself is a challenge.
Right. Because I mean, thinking of myself as a person, if some random phone
Hmm.
number comes on my screen, I'm like, who's this? And I just have my Google Assistant screen the call or I just hang up.
Yeah.
So, if you're willing to check your messages or if their voicemail inbox is not totally full, you may have a chance. But, I think email, but again, that's how our minds work, that email just seems a little bit safer and, you can type things out ahead of time and yeah.
Mhm. And schedule your sends and stay
Yes,
organized with
yes.
that as well. Do you think
Mhm.
that there's a particular social media channel that is better than another to stay up to date with what a client's doing?
I think it depends on what genre that particular voice buyer lives. For example, if they're more video game or animation based, maybe Twitter or Instagram or, maybe YouTube would be a better spot. But
Mm-hmm.
then if you're on LinkedIn, your e-learning, your explainer, your commercial people will definitely be all over that. So, I mean, depending on what you want to focus on, and maybe more than one or two, but if you had to pick at least one, I know a lot of people say LinkedIn is the way to go because that is the most business-oriented social media platform. So if you just want to stick to one, definitely LinkedIn. But if you're willing to dip your toe into one or two more, depending on what genres you want to focus on, maybe you might have to be more focused on Facebook and Instagram if that's where those particular genres meet up most of the time. Or you could be on Twitter X or TikTok, depending on which one you want to stick with. But I get it, being able to keep track of every single social media platform and then not go down the rabbit hole watching all of the cute capybara videos. It's dangerous. I know.
It's
Yeah.
overwhelming too. I mean, when you're just starting out, you don't know. I'm overwhelmed. I've been doing this for a million years, and I don't have the
You look
patience.
great.
Oh, thank you. I know, I'm a million and one. I don't have the patience now. I mean,
Mm,
I'm in my 50s where I'm like, just give me the line that's going to get me quickly from A to B with the
right.
least amount of stress.
Yep.
So that's why it's like, okay, I know LinkedIn is great. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm really bad about updating. I'm really bad about posting stuff because that's the other thing as well, is you need to, keep things
Keep
flowing.
consistent.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
so
mean, otherwise, unless you outsource that, to someone else, or if you're more inclined that that is something that you enjoy, but maybe you hate writing the initial emails to that person, you figure out what you want to outsource and what you have time for, and then you can be able to have that more consistent idea on LinkedIn. But I mean, even if you only post, I mean, some of our potential clients, some of our prospects, they may only post once a month as well. They may not be posting every single week or every other week. So, you know, if you're in the booth and you're making your money and you're staying busy, that's fantastic. But if I can only allot posting to LinkedIn maybe once or twice a week, then great. There are ways that, like you said, you can schedule things ahead of time, which I think has helped immensely just to get it off your plate. If you're saying to yourself, okay, this Monday from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. is just my social media scheduling time.
Right.
Boom, you can get it all done right then and there, which helps a lot with time management.
So I call it social media Mondays. And
Mm-hmm.
I stay home that day because I have a physical studio and I have students
Mm-hmm.
that come here, and this is where I do my voiceover work. So on Mondays, like Monday morning, I schedule from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's my social media. And I don't wind up working on social media. I wind up working on all other crap that I have to get done. And it's terrible. Also, I'm thinking, okay, it's social media Monday. Boom, I'm completely dry on creativity. I have
Yeah.
no ideas on what, because some weeks I'm good. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna plan these posts. And we use Loomly. Do you know Loomly?
Uh-huh. Yes. Yeah, yeah.
And it's, I like that because it gives you the ideas and says, you might want to post about this
Try
too.
this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. What about if you have mental blocks? What do you have creative blocks?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's always the question. I think some people use a variety of different methods, whether it is if you're more of a type A person, maybe you might want to write down when you do have those kinds of creative thoughts because you're driving or you're on a walk or you're in the gym, doing something else. And you're like, this is not when I'm planning to think about this, but it's just entering my head because
Right.
that's always how it happens. Even if you have some sort of content strategy document that you can have listed out for when those days come by and you're like, I cannot think of anything. You look at that content strategy, you're like, oh, well, I forgot that I had that idea. Yeah, okay, let's try that. Or some people maybe, if you prefer to use like a chat GPT or something of that kind to kind of like, hey, give me some inspiration, give me some ideas. That
Mhm.
can also be a helpful way to kind of, get the creative juices flowing through the help of, chat GPT.
So content strategy document sounds very fancy, Nadia.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is that?
Believe me, it's not as it sounds fancy.
Yes,
As
it
an opera
does.
singer, I'm
You
used
sound
to
all
sounding
business-like,
fancier.
you know?
Yeah. What I basically have is I'll list out, okay, whether it's like a reel or, something like that, or it'll be like an actual physical post, or it would be maybe like a blog idea, whatever it is.
Okay.
You might have that idea and then you just sort of write out one or two, maybe it's like one little small sentence that encapsulates what you want that to be. Like if I say to myself, oh, I want to make, or if you come across this, like I like to do reels on Instagram. So if I find a
Mm.
funny sound or something, I'll note down the sound and then I'll be like, ooh, this is the idea that I have to go with it. So when the time comes, I could be like, oh yeah, and I find that sound and I'm like, get ready to record. Of course, Instagram reels take like 2 hours to do, even though it's like a 15-second reel because it's just so stressful.
No, I
But,
know.
yeah.
So the
Oh.
consistency though, I mean, because I love Instagram and I like posting reels as well, or stories. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
but yeah, so frequency though, I'll go through this creative burst and I'll be like, oh, I'm posting 10 things. And then I don't post anything for like 2 months. And I
Yep.
don't know how to, I don't know how to fix it, Nadia. I don't know how to fix it.
I mean, it comes back down to the scheduling thing. I mean, if you all of a sudden have that creativity batch and you get 10 videos done at once, then you can kind of schedule it out and be like, okay, well, this is going to go on Wednesday. This is going to go on Thursday. This is going to go on whatever.
Yeah,
Or, I think the scheduling feature has really changed the game rather than feeling like, oh, I have to remember that at Wednesday at 5:35, I have to log into my account. And,
right.
so now you can have that scheduling ahead of time that it can be kind of off your mind and you forget, oh, I already scheduled that to go out, okay, great,
Right.
so that does help things. Or if you want to have like that document, the content strategy document,
Very
you could list, oh, on Mondays I'm going to do this type of reel, maybe on Tuesdays is going to be a testimonial post, and then you don't have to worry about necessarily, that is still consistency, and
right.
it's something you have one less thing you have to worry about coming up with a new idea every single week.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I love the organization factor too. I'm a big organizing type of person. I feel like though, you know how this business is so difficult, but it really does behoove us all, if we can, to be good at business as well as the creative side. And I feel like at this point, so many years of doing voiceover, I've developed my creative side to a point where I'm almost diminished some of
Mm,
my business side, which I'm trying to rectify that. So, for voice talent, we have to find that balance that, you can still be the fantastic performer that you are, but then run a clean, efficient business that hopefully turns a profit,
right, right.
you know?
I think
But
that's the biggest struggle. Like you mentioned, our biggest struggle is figuring out, okay, well, what to do, how to make this content, how do I find these clients, but also how do I toe the line between being the creative person that these people want to collaborate with versus I need to pay the bills,
right.
and it's just there may be some times where if you think to yourself, okay, SEO, that is my main focus for these next 2 months. And then maybe you forget about the LinkedIn, maybe you forget about the lead generation, and that's okay because that those seeds that you're planting for making your SEO really grow
Hmm.
will be gaining fruit maybe several months down the line when a client finds you because of your SEO and then you just get a job. So I think it's being willing to try different things or be willing to experiment and see, oh, well, that really worked for me. Oh, well, that really did this. And knowing that, as we know in this business, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And
Mm.
sometimes we have to try different drills or change
What
out our
works for you?
shoes or
Hmm.
exactly. We have to see what is going to work to keep us in the marathon that is a voiceover career.
So now you teach a course on this?
I do. I have an online marketing course specifically about lead generation for voice actors. And it is online and it's hosted on Kajabi. So I know a lot of other courses are on Kajabi, so people are familiar with it.
Hmm.
But it is there's several different modules, there's several different bonus materials as well to help people like say for social media, like knowing the job titles that your voice buyers would use on
Right.
social media or knowing the hashtags that they would be using on social media and how you can then find them, things like that. And it is a course that you would have lifetime access to, and it would dive really deep into seeing a good example, a not so great example, and why those two are what they are for each particular method to find a lead.
Interesting. And this is all like you self-propel yourself through the course.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
I'm
You
not
learn
phrasing that
these
right, but you know what I
methods,
mean.
right. I don't give you too many homework assignments, but like
Yeah.
little tiny activities to keep you like, "Oh, okay, well this is what I learned and now I can apply it myself," and things like that. So, it is an online course that anyone can be able to access and utilize, or you can send it to if you have hired a lead generator, you can then have them take it, to then be able to have them, be able
Mhm.
to find your leads more efficiently, so when you're paying them, whether it is by the hour or by the lead, you can get efficient, good leads every single time.
So how do folks find your course?
Absolutely. So my course website is leadgenerationblueprint.com. That's where you can find everything. I got some freebies there, so if you like your freebies, you can go in and grab your freebie. And I have some ebooks, and then I also of course have the main course, which is called Lead Generation Blueprint: The Ultimate Guide. So that's where you can find the course and the ebooks and the freebies and all things you need to know lead generation. So,
That sounds great. I think I need to take your course, honestly, because this is one
well,
arena,
the water's warm, Linda. Hop on in.
one of those things that I need to know more about, if anything, not even just for my own career, but to advise other people to say, this may be the right direction you're going in or not.
Sure. I mean, we always need those kind of reminders as to things that may work for us or like I don't know anything about SEO, but then I go to see someone like Gina Scarpa talk about it and I know, okay, well Gina knows what she's talking about. I'm going to learn from her as to how to boost my SEO, It's marketing is it is a whole nother beast that we have to learn to tame in some ways.
How do you stay updated with what's happening in the marketing world? Do you read any newsletters? Do you get any type of, you know, sources that keep you posted on the latest and greatest? Or does
I
that even
think
exist for marketing?
I mean there's so many different ways. I mean, I think whether you follow other creators or other marketing people, maybe, we focus on the voiceover industry, let's say,
Right.
but then there could be some other people that we look up to that are also marketing pros in their own respective industries, and maybe we follow their podcast or we listen to what they have to say. Like Online Marketing Made Easy, Amy Porterfield, I'll listen to what she has to say. She's a great resource, things like that. So podcasts, and then honestly, sometimes like places like LinkedIn will post an article. Someone will share an article that'll be like, oh, well, I didn't know that that was happening. So, articles like that are being shared on social media, which is kind of ironic because it's
Right.
a part of marketing. But, that's how we get our information. It's how we get our information. Or honestly, yeah, those podcasts from people like Amy Porterfield, who, she is a marketing person in her own right, in her own
Yeah.
industry, and sort of seeing what she's talking about and applying it to what we're doing.
And I think it's important for folks just starting out, or even if you've just been doing this for a few years, to realize that you don't need to be gathering advice in particular from a voice actor. Marketing
Oh,
is
no.
marketing. And it's, we just happen to be the product. So,
Absolutely.
it doesn't need to be, I'm not taking anything away from you, Nadia, because I think
Oh,
your
no,
course
no, no.
sounds fantastic. But, this is a business. And I think any place that you can gather information that could help grow your business is, the best.
100%. I think, if we keep staying in our own little bubble, we won't be able to grow.
Right.
So it's perfectly fine. I think it'll probably help your business grow even more if you're willing to hear the points of someone else outside of our industry,
Mhm.
because our clients aren't necessarily voice actors,
Right.
right? So, we have to be able
Usually
to work with
not.
them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hope not. I mean, nothing wrong with, getting a referral or anything like that, but they aren't voice actors either. And if they're going to think, oh, well, I would rather hire, Claudia from our HR department to voice our videos instead of, a trained voice actor that knows what they're doing for this 10 module e-learning course, we're doing the same thing, you
Right.
know?
Get it from a professional and someone else with good advice. I know podcasts, everybody listens to podcasts. That's the thing. I actually read a newsletter every day that just
Mm,
gives me the highlights of everything happening. So you have like a section on, politics, a section on, news, and it's just bullet points. It's called
mm,
1440. And
okay.
it's fantastic. And every morning I'm like,
Oh,
oh, it's like you get a real quick snapshot of stuff. And if you want to click on it and find out more. But for me, that kind of keeps me in touch with what's happening because it does cover tech. It
right.
covers things that are happening in our world that we don't, the AI, the things
Yeah.
that we have to stay abreast of.
Up to date on.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we have to.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise. Ugh. So who's your favorite client that you've worked with?
Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
very good question.
As a voice
Ooh,
actor, not as a lead
as a voice
generation
actor.
creator.
Ooh la la. Man, that's. Whew. I think there's one client I've very much enjoyed working with. Unfortunately, I'm under NDA, so I cannot say anymore.
Okay.
But it's for I'll say they're in the video game industry. That is all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
But the character that I was asked to portray, she is wonderful, and I'm so excited for
Oh,
when I eventually can share it, because I think people will be like, "Oh, I didn't expect you to do this." So
that's
I don't
nice.
know. I'd probably say them right now. But
Okay.
mhm,
And what about a
mhm.
dream client? Who would you like to work with?
Oh man, dream client. I think it would be really amazing. Okay, I'll say for certain genres. How about that? I'll break it down
Okay.
by genre. Childhood dream for a video game. Oh, no, this is probably gonna slightly date me. When I was growing up, I loved the Nancy Drew computer games. So a dream would be to be a character on one of the Nancy Drew computer games.
Nancy
Definitely
Drew.
would,
That's
like,
cool.
little Nadia would be so happy about that. For a commercial, I think a commercial for probably, like, Chanel or something like that, like that kind of luxury. I don't know. I feel like that would be so amazing to be able to have that attached
Yeah,
to
your
to
voice
attached
would
to what
be
you
good
do.
for it. Hmm.
Yeah, it'll be fun, especially since I could be like, oh, do you want me to do it in French? I can do it in French. Or you want me to do it in Italian? I could do it in Italian, kind of
Can you
thing with
speak all
them.
those languages?
Well, I do speak Italian and French. I did a minor in both at Florida
Wow.
State. So,
Oh my goodness. Very
I didn't have time to do German too. I was too busy, but
Oh, you know what? You're such a loser, Nadia. I can't believe it.
I know, I'm trying.
I had so much respect for you, and now it's all gone. So,
Pew.
okay, so that's commercials, that's video games or animation.
Oh,
What
like a
about?
documentary TV and show narration, I think would be fantastic. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a nature documentary, but maybe a documentary on like classical music would be really amazing. I think that would
Mhm.
be very close to home, or even a reality TV show that is more about, not trashy reality TV. I mean, I could do it, but I think just to kind of break in would be really amazing.
Right. Okay.
So I we'll keep it to those three for now because we
Okay.
don't, some of
Very
them.
fair.
I think that'd be great.
Very fair. I always like to know. I know when I started out, I had no idea what I was going to do, and I said I want to be the network voice for Lifetime Television, and I want to be the
Oh,
voice of Tampax, and I don't know why I picked those two things. Uh, I know because you're young and you think that's going to be great,
right,
but
right.
yeah, I wound up being a network voice for TLC, I guess, which is
Oh,
close. Yeah,
that's yeah.
never did Tampax. That's okay. But
Well,
yeah,
never say never. You don't know.
it's all right. I had my dream client, so I'm
There
happy.
you go.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, my dream client was Disney, so I can't ask for anything more, and I'm very happy in my life. Let's put
Mm.
it that way. Um,
Oh,
so let's see what else can I ask? Because you're already an accomplished actress. Do you still sing for any kind of productions? Do
I
you?
do. I do. I actually so far this year I've been in 2 operas.
Oh
And
wow.
last year I was in 3 musicals. So, I still try to keep myself active
Oh
and
my gosh,
you
those
know,
take up so much time.
they can. I mean, thankfully the one opera I did in February, it was at my hometown. So I was staying with my parents. So I essentially took over their closet. That was my studio. So that kind of worked out. And then
What's your
the opera,
hometown? Where's your hometown?
Southwest Florida. So Naples, Florida.
My God, that's the
Mhm.
market I came from, Naples, Fort Myers.
Get out.
Yeah, my family lived there for 25 years. I worked in radio in Fort Myers,
Wow.
A-Rock, B103. Yeah,
Yes?
yep.
Yeah.
And I just did a
Wow.
spot. I don't know if you remember Bill Smith Electronics. I've been their voice
Uh-huh.
for like 20 years. I just
Oh
did
my
3 of their
gosh.
Memorial Day spots. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's so funny, right?
What a small world.
I
That's
know. And
crazy.
Naples is awesome. I
Yeah.
way back when I was there was like the early 90s, and there was nothing for my age group to do, you know.
Well, yes, I was just gonna say, growing up there was so boring.
Yeah,
I would not do that again.
yeah, very tough.
But I think now, there's more. I feel like once you're able to A, drive your own vehicle and B, be of drinking age, so many more things open up there for people, which is very sad to say.
I know.
But I think there's more like social dancing. Like I love social dancing, like Latin dancing and things like that. So I think, there's definitely more opportunities there, which is like
Mhm.
great. I don't have to drink or I don't have to go to the beach or I don't have to drive everywhere in order to enjoy myself. So that's kind of nice that they have that available in that area.
That's great. Naples. Whereabouts in Naples? You have to give me an address, but
Oh, yes. So it's actually probably like North Naples area, kind of not far from, I wouldn't say vineyards, but like kind of not that far from that area.
okay. My parents had a house out in Golden Gate.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's far,
That is a bit far.
towards North
Yes.
Central Florida.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they had 3 acres of land in this house. They had like, uh, you know, um, bears. My mother would have black bears.
Yes.
Oh my,
Yes.
stuff that would freak me out because she'd be telling me
Yeah.
about it. And I'm up here in New York and I'm like, Ma, you're 65, and you're dealing with a black bear. Not cool. But
Yeah.
create like all sorts of wildlife down there. Peacocks. The
So
neighbor
much.
like grew
Yep.
peacocks.
Yep.
So it's a different world in that part of Naples. And then you have
Oh,
the other
definitely.
part of Naples that's very wealthy, and then they have all the
Mm-hmm.
wonderful restaurants but it's a very
Right. It's
interesting.
it's yeah, it's a city that has certain elements to it that you're like, oh, I didn't expect that, or oh, this
Yeah.
is kind of oh, okay,
So where do you live
some
now?
hidden gems. I'm in Columbus, Ohio at the moment, but I'm actually moving to Atlanta in July.
Oh,
So,
wow. Atlanta's like the new hotbed for creative.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, gotta get in there early because
Yeah.
people are calling it the mini LA. So I'm like, ruh-roh, before it starts to get very expensive, let's get in now.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
mhm,
So when are you
mhm.
going?
July, like
Oh, right
shortly
around the
after
corner.
July 4th weekend. So yeah, it's soon. It's happening
Wow.
soon.
Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations on all your success. Give me the lead generation. Give me the
Blueprint.com. That is the
generationblueprint.com. And if they just want to find out more about you, it's what NadiaMarshall.com.
yes. NadiaMarshall.com is my singing website.
Oh,
Feel free to listen. That's my singing website. But you can go to voicesbynadia.com, and that's where I'm at for all my socials as well, is Voices by Nadia.
oh, wonderful. It's been an honor. You're such an accomplished actress and singer and now, owner of the coaching company for your lead generation. Thank you
Well,
so much
thank
for
you,
coming on the
Linda.
podcast.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you for having me. And crazy that we
I know.
just missed each other with Naples Fort Myers area. Wow.
We used to call Fort Myers Fort Misery. I don't really know if it's like that
I called
anymore.
Naples Naptown, so that's hilarious.
Yes.
Stop.
No.
Misery.
Look,
Fort
it's
Misery.
when you're young, people were not dogging the area. It's just when you're
Yeah.
young, it's a little tough. It's different. It's different. So
Yeah. With the average age being, the mean age being about, 72 or 60,
yes.
65, you're like, oh, I'm over this,
Thank you again. That wraps up another episode of the Voiceover Gurus podcast. Join us for a workout. We host usually 2 a month. We've got some fun stuff coming up in the next few months, but head over to voiceover.guru. And any questions, you can always email us. You can go to info@voiceover.guru or join our community. I know I'm whining about it, but the community is fantastic and it's free. And you get to participate in weekly script read challenges. And there's a really supportive community in there. So you can find that on our website too at voiceover.guru. Everybody, thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your day. All right, girl. Thank you. It's so
Perfect.
funny how much we have in common.
Crazy.
I know. I
Crazy.
know. I want to know how you get everything done.